Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. Today, I thought we would talk about a book that I recently read. Well, let's be serious here, that I listened to on Audible. And this was Steve Jobs' biography. I read this past summer. And first of all, it's fascinating, I have to say. Steve is a fairly controversial guy. His leadership style, the way he handled personal relationships, and the crazy, quirky habits he had, both around his physical and about his food and all the things. All of that is on the table. But one thing is so undeniable as you read this book and as you learn about Steve Jobs is that he was a visionary who allowed nothing to stand between him and his ideas. I have to say, the conviction that he consistently stood in is kind of crazy pants, to tell you the truth. It's admirable. I don't know that I could do it. But the thing is, in learning about his journey, his vision, and the way he reimagined entire industries from the world of personal computing all the way to animated movies is nothing short of remarkable, quite frankly. And the thing about it is, in reflection on the book, it got me to thinking, how could we what lessons did I learn from his book that either we could take to our businesses, or then I took it down another rabbit hole and I was like, well, between my two Power Talk Friday books and all of the experts that contributed to those books, what were some of oh yeah, that's what this expert taught us too. And there's the exemplification of it in Steve Jobs, in his work and his career. And so today, I'm going to reflect on Steve Jobs' genius, and I'm going to blend it in with the advice from my incredible co-authors in the two Power Talk Friday Experts books. Okay. And if you have not gotten these books yet, I highly recommend you do. If you are listening in real time, maybe they're good holiday reading for the end of 2024 for you, so that you can come back in 2025 and feel energized and empowered. You can go to luannigara.com/books, and we will also put that link in the show notes. So here's the thing. The first comparison that I wanted to bring to your attention is the client experience. What is so insanely clear as you learn about Steve and his career is that Steve Jobs didn't just sell products. Now, I talk about this all the time, and especially in exciting windows, that we have to sell people and process and not products, not a commodity. Steve Jobs created experiences. To him, it was expected and non-negotiable that the products would be superior, that they would be the best. That was just sitting on the table as of course, that's how it's going to be. And once this was accepted and understood by everyone who worked for him and develops products for him, then he consistently focused on the minute details of the client experience, our user experience of the products they created. From the packaging of the iPhones and the computers, to the experience at the Apple Store, to the way he crafted new product launches with fanfare and delight. Everything mattered to Steve. Every touch point with the consumer was carefully and artfully planned. And this mirrors what we have learned over the years from Nicole Heimer of Glory and Brand. And in her chapter in the book on branding, she teaches us and reminds us that branding is much more than a logo or a pretty website. That she says it's about controlling the story your business tells at every touch point. She emphasizes that consistency is key in this area, that each time a client interacts with your business, whether it's through social media, a consultation, or the way you respond to an email, you are consciously and subconsciously teaching and reinforcing your brand to your existing clients and your potential clients. And you have to keep remembering that you're painting a picture. And are you painting the picture you want them to see? Nicole's approach challenges us to think about our business as a living, breathing entity. Are your visuals cohesive? Do your values shine through in your messaging? Are you delivering on the promises that your brand makes? It is about creating a narrative that not only attracts your ideal clients, but keeps them engaged and coming back for more. In her chapter in the book, Nicole encourages us to explore this for our business with intention, not a passing thought. She says, ask yourself, when people think of my business, what story are they hearing? Is it a story that I'm proud of? And she says, write down 3 words you want everyone to associate with your brand. Now, compare that with the current state of your branding and also with your client experience. Do you find the alignment, or is there a need to refine how you're telling your story? Okay. Now, there was an episode where Nicole walked us through a mini brand audit, and we will link that episode in the show notes. It's worth going back to listen to with pen and paper. She walks you through your website, your social, your client communications, and throughout the exercise, she encourages us to consistently ask yourself, when I go to this part of my landing page, when I see my this and that and the other thing, does this evoke the feeling that I want my consumers to associate with my business, right? So the bottom line on this is that Steve Jobs' goal was to make Apple synonymous with simplicity and innovation. So define what your brand message is and ask yourself, are you telling it in all of your visuals, your messaging, and your actions, the way Steve made sure that that was happening at Apple? Okay, now let's talk about simplicity and systems. Another Steveism, and he often said, was simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. He stripped everything down to its essence, whether it was a product design or a keynote speech. For Steve, simplicity wasn't about cutting corners. It was about clarity and focus, about removing anything unnecessary so that what remained was undeniably impactful. You know, unless you've read the book, you're probably just like, oh, okay. But when you read the book, when you hear this sentence again, that he was focused on clarity and focus, about removing anything unnecessary so that what remained was undeniably impactful. He breathed this. Okay. And so breathing that at that level of dedication is that extra nudge. It's that extra 10%. And when I think about the chapter that Sandra Funk wrote in the book, she's encouraging us to do this from the standpoint of our business systems. She's saying that creating clear, repeatable processes not only simplifies our lives, but it simplifies and respects our clients as well. Okay. So she wants that same laser focus on the way you run your business, on the systems. So just like Jobs made Apple products intuitive, Sandra's advice encourages us to make our client journeys intuitive and effortless as well. And she teaches us that simplicity isn't just about the aesthetics, it's about the strategy. It's about this strategy that brings us to the success. So she built the interior design standard so that you can easily duplicate the clear, repeatable processes that she's developed to serve her business and her clients. She knows that when your business runs like a well-oiled machine, that you will be able to put more focus on the things that you do that actually up-level things rather than dealing with fires. Okay. You want to focus on delivering exceptional results, not chasing your tail every day. And she also explains that when every step of the client journey is mapped out from the first inquiry to the final reveal, when it happens effortlessly, then you're able to always take opportunities to simplify and add value along the way, right? Because you're not, building the train, like we say, running down the track at 65 miles an hour. You know exactly what you're doing. And you're like, hey, I'm breathing. Everybody's breathing. I can add a little touch here. Okay. How to do this, right? Sandra advises breaking complex projects into manageable phases. This is great because this keeps you organized internally, whether you're a solo or running a team of several, but it also respects your client's emotions, and it helps them understand, and it helps them to feel informed and reassured throughout the process. The thing is, when it's clear to your client, then they're not coming in and breaking in every 5 minutes and saying, what about that? How about this? They can visualize where they're going. And Sandra further advises that you align your payment structures with milestones that line up with the phases of the design experience, because that further makes it predictable and stress-free for both you and your clients. Okay. So they have an understanding. Here's a milestone, money is due. Here's an understanding. This is a milestone. These things should be done. This is what's next. Money's due. It's, it's like Steve is saying, strive for simplicity. Don't make it complicated. So when you think about it, when your clients are confused by your onboarding process or any part of the process whatsoever, that's when you get those constant questions, the breakthrough questions, like I was just mentioning. And I know this from coaching in my Chairman of the Board programs one-on-one, that often when you guys are getting those breakthrough questions like, hey, how about this? What about this? And you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, you're being very pesky, or you want too much handholding, or why doesn't the client trust me enough to know that I know what the next step is and it's all going to be fine? Well, I have to tell you, this is not your client's problem. This is not them with unreasonable expectations. This is a you problem. When this happens, these are signs that your system needs fine tuning, right? And the thing is, when you set up the difference the way Sandra describes it, with specific design milestones, specific money milestones, specifically a simple and elegant system that everybody understands internally and externally, all of the questions fall away. Right? It's no different than a GPS. If you only know the next turn, you're constantly thinking, well, after I turn right, what am I going to do? After I turn right, what am I going to do? But what does your darn GPS say? At the next light, turn right, then go 400 feet and turn left. It's constantly telling you what's next so that your brain can relax and focus on what you're doing. And when you want your client to relax and focus on what you're doing for them, they need that timeline. So your homework is to grab a pen and paper and map out your client journey. And Sandra encourages us to look for the friction points, right? Remember the Dark Night of the Soul episode with Sandra when she told me, X amount of clients of all this and that in the last 6 months. And I said, sweetie, when 5 people do it and you're one person, you're the common denominator. The problem is in-house, not externally. So she knows what it takes to take a good hard look at her business. So go through your last several projects and review the communication timelines, review the approvals, how they came in, how they didn't, review the payments. Did they happen? Did you have to ask 16 times or did it just happen? And then review where the heightened communication came, like that felt, like I said, friction, right? Review the things that felt uncomfortable and that you were under pressure. And you're probably going to see that they happen time and time again at similar parts, similar times across multiple projects. And when that happens, that is your indicator that that section needs to be streamlined. Okay. It needs to be streamlined and standardized. Okay. So it's a lot of work to do. You can do it, and you could do it on your own. I know many designers have. Or you can go to the interior design standard where it's all done for you. And that's at interiordesignstandard.com/LuAnn. We'll link it in the show notes. All right. Either way, Sandra doesn't care. I don't care how you get there. We just care that you do it for yourself. Okay. So the bottom line on this section is that Sandra's approach mirrors Steve Jobs' philosophy of intuitive design. Just as Jobs wanted to ensure that every Apple product felt effortless to use, Sandra encourages us to make our client experience effortless, and enjoyable. Because this is the kind of service that builds trust, loyalty, and referrals. And if you're not sure, if you're an iPhone or a Mac user, would you ever switch? Right? Like you just don't even think about it. Next time you need a computer or a phone, you just show up at the Apple store, right? That is the kind of service that builds trust, loyalty, and referrals. Okay, third section, productivity for a purpose. And another aha that I learned about Steve Jobs was that he was relentlessly ruthless about prioritizing. He'd cut entire product lines if they didn't serve Apple's bigger mission, and he didn't care. Because for Steve, he didn't want to just sell more. He always wanted to do things exceptionally well. And the thing is, if a product line wasn't doing well and it was because it wasn't created well or anything, he just cut it. Boom. See you bye. Not like good enough, we'll just come out with this one, right? And when Steve made his return to Apple in the late 1990s, he famously slashed the company's sprawling product lineup from dozens of models to just a few. Why? Because he knew that focus drives excellence. By dedicating resources to fewer projects, Apple could create products that truly stood out in quality, innovation, and impact. Now, in volume 2 of the Power Talk Friday Experts, Amber de la Garza exemplifies this approach. Now, she has been one of my coaches for the last 4 or 5 years now, and so much about what I've learned about prioritizing comes from Amber's direct advice and guidance to me over the years. She is all about helping business owners focus on productive activities, the ones that drive revenue, that improve client satisfaction, and create long-term growth, rather than us staying stuck, getting stuck in busy work that doesn't move the needle. And she constantly forces me to take a hard look at my daily to-do list and ask myself, what is actually important here? What can I delegate? What can I defer? What can I eliminate entirely? Her method is all about identifying high payoff activities and creating strategies to ensure your time and energy are spent where they matter most. Whether it's building systems or managing distractions, setting clear boundaries with your time, and saying no to things that don't align with your goals. Amber's advice is practical and empowering. And I know that when you're hearing this, you're probably thinking, well, of course, duh. But the actual doing of it takes a heck of a lot of focus, I have to tell you. So, this approach mirrors Steve Jobs' laser focus on prioritization. He laser focused on products that were memorable and unique. And because of this, the profits followed. Okay. So he didn't try and put out 15 products if only 2 were really the best work. So it's no different than us looking at our calendar and trying to do 15 things when really only 2 deserve our attention as the CEO of our company. Okay? So Amber teaches us to do the same, to be ruthless with our time, to work our schedule with our resources, and to concentrate on what matters. Okay? The thing I came to learn about Steve Jobs is that this wasn't a business strategy that he learned from someone. It was in him. For him, it was a deeply held philosophy. For him, prioritization was about cutting through the noise and aligning every decision with the company's core values and long-term vision. He intrinsically understood that saying no to good ideas was often necessary to make room for great ideas. Now, we may not have this etched so much in our psyche, but we can learn from it and we can apply it. And we can remind ourselves of it every day until it becomes our way of thinking too. Because as business owners, we must prioritize what aligns with our mission and delegate or eliminate the rest. When you create room to excel in areas that matter most, that's when we create the space to achieve excellence. And I can tell you from experience, it's a game changer. I will tell you it's always a work in process, but each time you make progress on it, it's so it's just it's a game changer is all I can say. So your bottom line on this is let go of busy work so you can double down on what matters most. Jobs had no problem saying no, and neither should we. And your homework is take a hard look at your to-do list. What is busy work and what's actually going to make the difference? Start crossing things off. Delegate where you can. If you're a solo, maybe you need 10 hours a week from a VA. Okay. If you're a big team, are you the CEO that gets stuck in saying, only I can do this? No one else will do it as good as me? Well, my friend, that's a problem. Because if you are interested, if you are running a bigger team, whether that's 3 or 5 or 15, and you are interested in sustaining that team, maybe growing it even further where it is, you can't be the only person who does everything good in your business. You just can't. And if you are, then you have not defined your way of doing things. You've heard me say over the years, the window works way, right? We have to establish the way we want something done, document it, and then empower and teach others to do it. All right. Okay. Shifting gears, let's talk about how Steve Jobs was an unparalleled genius when it comes to marketing. He didn't just sell products, my friends. He sold stories. His Apple keynotes weren't company meetings with boring graphs and presentations by suits. They were experiences. Every product launch was a masterclass in storytelling, each designed to spark curiosity, create excitement, and ultimately make people believe that owning an Apple product wasn't just a purchase, it wasn't a commodity, it was a lifestyle choice. Steve had an uncanny ability to connect with his audience on an emotional level, making them feel like they were part of something bigger, a movement, a revolution, a community of forward thinkers. Now, Darla Powell, the grand poobah of Wingnut Social, echoes this in volume 2 of the Power Talk Friday Experts. Darla reminds us that social media isn't simply about posting pretty pictures. It is at its best garnering your highest return when you understand your objective is first and foremost to build connections, meaningful connections by preference, right? Like Jobs, she understands that it's not just the what that you share on social, but the why. That's the part that matters. Yes, the beautiful room, but what was your thought process into creating that room? What challenge did your client have? Or how did you solve a challenge, right? She is telling us to tell the story behind it and tell the story of your brand in social media. So every post, like every Apple keynote, should have a purpose to educate, to entertain, or to inspire. For Jobs, the goal was always to make people feel something about his products. It wasn't just a new phone or a computer. It was a sleek, innovative tool that empowered you to do more and to be more. Like, don't you remember the first time you got a Mac? I remember like just coveting it and wanting it so bad and seeing a different client's home when I would go to measure their window treatments and like, I want one, right? Darla says we need to create that same emotional connection with our brand out to the world. A beautifully designed room isn't just the aesthetic. At its highest deliverable, it's how you have transformed that space, how you have transformed how the client feels, how the client lives and interacts with the world. So that means, according to Darla on social media, that it isn't just about here's a pretty room, here's the finished project, here's the outcome. She said, no, it's about sharing your process, about your values, and about the story behind that outcome, that pretty room. So whether it's an educational post about design trends, whether it's a behind the scenes video of your creative process, or a heartfelt post about why you love what you do, Darla teaches us that every piece of content is an opportunity to connect with your audience on a deeper level. And the bottom line is, just like Steve Jobs made Apple a brand people feel deeply loyal to, we can utilize social media to do the same. So it's not about perfection or the number of posts in a week or a month. It's about authenticity, about consistency, and about the ability to make your audience feel like they truly know you and already trust you even before they reach out for your discovery call. You know, at LuAnn University, we teach the Make a Friend 7-step selling system. It is a proprietary system to exciting windows, and Jessica Harling teaches us it for us over at LuAnn University. And what she teaches you, if you take this class, whether you're an interior designer or a window treatment professional, I highly encourage you to take the class. It is a game changer. And what she has a habit of saying is, if she knows that she is doing things right in her first and second, so it's, we call it the 1A step and the 1B step before you get to step 2, right? So she says she knows she has done 1A and 1B right when she first meets a client, that first interaction, knocking at their door, and they open the door and she gets a hello hug, right? Because it's about establishing that connection prior to trying to sell them something. So your homework is to take a look at your next several planned social media posts. Ask yourself, does it reflect your brand values? Does it give a window to who you are as a human, as well as an interior designer? Does it speak to your ideal client? Right? Meaning, among other things, if you want luxury clients, don't post DIY tips, right? Also, is your name in your profile? Is the city and state you are located in easy to find? And don't get me started about all the other things that drive me crazy, the way we present ourselves in this industry. Okay. So the thing is that I want to know who you are. And I tell you all the time on the show, I experience this firsthand. So many of you send me kind, wonderful interactions in DM or even on the main post. And if you're a new name to me, I'm always going over to your profile. And if I can't figure out right away the human there, it's like, it's homework. I don't want homework. I want to know who you are right away. I want to know your name. I want to know where you're located. I want to know what matters to you. Like I tell you guys all the time, I expect you to create a beautiful room. I want an insight into the way you as a human might be to work with in creating that beautiful room for me. Okay. Now, here's the thing. You don't need me telling you all the tips. You can learn all of this in Darla's course, Instagram for interior designers. It is the Bible on how to do Instagram right. And we will link that in the show notes. So here's the thing. Let's talk about excellence here, because excellence leads to legacy. And this is a principle that both Steve and I continue to be deeply passionate about. For Steve, as you learn about his life, you are constantly seeing how excellence was not negotiable. And in fact, it was an obsession. He scrutinized every single detail, from the sleek curves on iPhone to the unboxing experience of its packaging. He rightly understood that the customer's experience didn't start when we turn on the product. It begins the moment we become aware of it, whether that is in print magazine ads or TV ads, or the stores that sold them or the boxes that we get them in. This mindset resonates with my own approach to business and what I've shared in all 3 of my books, in my keynotes, in my one-on-one coaching, on both of my podcasts, that excellence doesn't just happen. It is a choice that we make every single day. And it is why I end every single show reminding you to decide to be excellent. And make no mistake, excellence is not perfection. Do not confuse that. Do not set yourself up for disappointment with this idea. This is about consistency and intention. This is about committing to the small details, to the ones that others will overlook, because it's in these small details that we often make the biggest impact on how people perceive us and our work. Excellence shows up in the follow up email you send after a client meeting, in the way you package your final deliverables, or in the thoughtfulness of anticipating a client's question before they have to ask it. For me, one place it shows up is in having standards for recording quality. If you have ever come to an interview with me, no matter, unfortunately, how long you have waited for that interview day and time, if you don't have the right equipment, or you do have it and it's not working, the interview is canceled. And it's not easy to do. I know often people are waiting 6 and 8 and 9 months, a year for their day and time. But the thing is, sound is one of the little details that is so critical to your experience. My client, your experience. It's an audio platform, for crying out loud. Okay. So your business, just like mine, is often made or broken in these little moments, because it's in those little moments that trust is built, that reputations are earned, and legacies are established. I love this quote by Steve. Quality is more important than quantity. One home run is much better than 2 doubles. I mean, right? How clear is this? 2 doubles are great. But what if they aren't in the same inning? They don't get any runs. But one home run always gets a run. So this applies to us as entrepreneurs as well. Are we rushing to check things off our to-do list? Or are we taking the time to deliver something truly outstanding? Are we making intentional choices that elevate our clients' experiences? Or are we cutting corners to save time? So the bottom line is, in my experience, I've learned that excellence is a mindset. It means asking yourself every day, how can I do better? Where can I refine, improve, or go the extra mile today in this moment? It's not always easy and it's not always convenient. I can tell you that. I'm a garden variety human just like you are, but it is always worth it. Steve Jobs exemplified that excellence is a choice, not a coincidence. And the good news is we have the power to make that choice every day. When we do, we build not just our businesses, but our legacies that reflect our dedication to quality, to service, and impact. Consistently choose excellence, and you will create a business that stands out in a crowded market. So let's review some homework on this section. Evaluate your standards. Take a close look at your current processes and touch points. Where are you already excelling and where can you raise the bar? It's a good exercise for going into 2025. Like I said, if you're listening in real time at the end of 2024, focus on follow through. One of the easiest ways to stand out is to do what you say you are going to do and more. Whether it's meeting deadlines or following up promptly, reliability builds trust. Anticipate client needs. Think one step ahead. What questions might your client have? What small touch could make their experience unforgettable? And number 4 is to obsess over details. Whether it's the way you present a proposal, style a room, or even greet a client, remember that the little things add up to create the big picture of your brand. Steve Jobs revolutionized an entire industry by focusing on the consumer and the consumer's experience. He taught us that simplicity, storytelling, and obsession with excellence aren't just nice to haves, they're non-negotiables. And with the insights from my Power Talk Friday experts, we, together with this information from Steve's, we have everything we can at our disposal to put these principles into action. All right. You just have to take the action. So I have one final bonus tip for you. In thinking about everything we can learn from Steve Jobs and all of the homework I gave you for this episode, pick one area in your business that just feels meh, feels just okay. Pick it today. Write it down now. And also go to your calendar now and put the time in to work on it. I don't care if you put that time in for 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, or 6 months from now. I really don't, because the days are going to pass one way or another. But put the time, commit to doing it, and then give it some thought. What can you do to elevate it? What is the thing that you can do? And then do that thing. Do it. Remember, it's tiny shifts that lead to big results. All right. Thank you. Thank you tons for joining me today. I do appreciate you. I appreciate the heck out of you for showing up and doing this with me. Decide to be excellent.